And we are back on Big Board Sports. Tim Healey joins us from New York Newsday. He covers the New York Mets, and they had the walk-off win last night. We'll get to that here. But first, Tim, thanks for a few minutes here on Big Board Sports. Let's start with the news about Cespedes, because we're hearing that he's willing to play first base. And if that's the case, maybe he keeps his legs fresh and we get him back on the field. Not we, but the Mets do. What's your take on Cespedes now willing to play a little first base in addition to the outfield and getting him back sooner than later?
Well, I think first base is an idea that Cespedes and the Mets have discussed, and he started working out there. Where it came from, I think really there's mutual interest there in at least exploring the idea. Now he's just taking ground balls, things like that, so we're a long ways away from a potential situation where he is their permanent or everyday first baseman. But there are definitely potential benefits to that situation, among them lessening the load on his often injured legs. He's, of course, on the DL right now with that strained right hip flexor. Also had some quad issues. Apparently he has chronic heel pain as well. So there's a lot going on with Cespedes' legs. And the idea, or part of the idea, would be to ease the stress there by not making him run so much, really, on defense.
Tim, how frustrated, though, in general, are the Mets and the front office with Cespedes still nursing the injury, the hip injury, and not being back on the field for an extended period of time here?
Yeah, pretty much. He's on the DL officially with the hip issue, but all along, 2 months tomorrow, tomorrow marks the 2-month mark, but it's been the hip/quad, and the heel thing is something he's dealt with for, since he was a teenager, the Mets say, and apparently it's been cropping up again, which is why they were waiting so long before he restarted baseball activity more recently. So it seems like there's always something going on with Cespedes' legs.
Newsday's Tim Healey with us here on Big Board Sports, 104.5 The Team, ESPN Radio. Check him out on Twitter at Tim B. Healey, and that's Healey. Tim, is there growing frustration, or are you sensing any frustration within the organization or the clubhouse with Yoenis Cespedes? I guess even the last couple of years. He missed so many games last year, and now, as you said, we're coming up on 2 months this year. Yeah,
I sense frustration as early as late May. Andy Alderson, when he was still, in his role as GM or still around as GM before taking this leave of absence that he's on, actually said he was surprised that Cespedes was taking as long as it was for Cespedes to come back. Now that was, about a month and a half ago. He had started a rehab assignment, had a setback, shut it down for a while, and now he's progressing again, probably not too far from rehab games. But around the same time as Alderson expressed his surprise, Mickey Callaway made the unusual step of mentioning that Cespedes makes a lot of money and they need him on the field, which of course is true. And Mickey's point was more that not that Cespedes needs to earn his paycheck, but that his salary tells you how important he is to the Mets in a follow the money sort of way.
Hey, it's been a long season for the Mets team, Tim. No questions about it. But you've had some fun here recently with the way they win games. They win a walk-off fashion. Flores the other night, and he's been the king of that this season. And then Brandon Nimmo goes deep, a 3-run shot to beat the Phillies last night, 3-0. How about the walk-off magic here by this New York Mets team?
Well, they have had essentially no magic in all of the other innings. So if they can concentrate their magic in the last inning, then it makes for a few exciting wins, that's for sure. But overall, I think they're, 3-3 this homestand. The offense has been really tough to come by, really. Without those 3 game-ending home runs, they're looking at an absolutely miserable stretch. But it's been all or nothing, I guess, for them lately.
Speaking of frustration associated with Cespedes, what about Jacob deGrom? As you speak with him on almost a daily basis, another great start of his last night gets, quote, wasted. Is he frustrated in any way by the lack of run support, or then at least the ability of the bullpen to save things for him?
deGrom has done a remarkable job of staying even keel, level-headed, not showing a ton of frustration throughout these, 3+ months now that he's been dominating almost every game. The most frustration he showed has been with himself. You know, if we go and talk to him after a start and the Mets lost 3-1, 2-1, anything along those lines, he will lament that one bad pitch, those two bad pitches where the other team happens to score. You know, you won't hear one stink from him about the Mets' lack of scoring. As he said last night, he pretends that it's 0-0 every time he's out there. And, of course, the Mets made that reality last night for all of his 8 innings.
Tim, one final question for me, and I've got to bring up Tim Tebow. As bad as the Mets have been, maybe that's would be a nice thing for the fans to see Tim Tebow at Citi Field. Do you think it's going to happen? And look, he had a double in the Eastern League All-Star game last night. I think he's made great strides. Managers who've seen him say he has improved immensely, works his tail off. How about a little Tim Tebow at Citi Field? And not because it's a big, promotion in terms of the fans and putting fans in the seats, but how about because he's earned it?
I don't know what the odds are, but it seems like they get higher every day. Tebow, of course, has improved throughout the season in Binghamton. He's been great since the start of June. And the Mets, it feels like all the time they're going through a new outfielder. So Tebow is playing well enough right now that if the Mets wanted to call him up in September, it wouldn't be a complete farce. He's been good enough. Of course, was in the All-Star game for the Eastern League last night. So his progress, say what you will about the sideshow aspect of it, but to me, it's remarkable that he's just dropped back into baseball at age 29 or however old he was and is doing what he's doing.
Newsday's Tim Healey with us here. Tim, congrats on the new gig with Newsday, covering the Mets this year. Keep up the great work, man, and we certainly appreciate the time this morning.
Thank you.